106 West 145th Street. Call somebody. Tell them the action is on the air. The Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton is in the house and getting ready to come to you. In fact, I'm asking you to get on your feet right now and welcome the president and founder of the National Action Network, the Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton.
No justice,
no peace.
No justice,
no peace.
No justice,
no peace.
No justice,
no peace.
What do we want?
Justice.
What do we want?
Justice.
What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
When do we want it?
Now.
When do we want it?
Now.
Hug the person next to you, tell them you love them. If it had not been for the Lord on my side, tell me where would I be? I wanna know where would I be? He kept my enemies away. He even turned the dark nights to a cloudy day. But he even rocked me in the cradle of his arms when he knew I hadn't had an answer. So if it had not been for the Lord on my side, tell me where would I be? Oh, where would I be? Tell me where would I be? Oh, where would I be? Give a hand, our musical director, Pravon Neal. Give him a big hand, say that we're happy to be with you another Saturday morning. For you that are here in the House of Justice, 106 West 145th Street in the village of Harlem, and for you that are listening live on 1190 WLIB AM in New York, or watching wherever you are around the country on live stream at www.nationalactionnetwork.net. We're happy to be with you another Saturday morning where the action is. Give a hand to our presider, Attorney Michael Harding. Certainly must acknowledge the presence of Gwen Carr, mother of Eric Gardner, and of the one and only Bishop Herbert Daughtry of the House of the Lord Pentecostal Church and founding president of the Black United Front. We're always happy when he shares with us. As I was listening this morning as James Gray from the Huddle gave Black History, and he talked about C.T. Vivian, and C.T. Vivian, who is still very much alive and active. And I was thinking that C.T. Vivian and Herb Daughtry and Joe Lowry are about the longest serving active leaders that I can think of in the civil rights movement. Now, that's no statement that should be taken lightly, but they go back 6, 7 decades of pure activism. And I was thinking, Reverend Jackson, who mentored me, told me how C.T. was, in many ways, the one that took him in Selma when he was a student and took him around. In many ways, their relationship was like Reverend Daughtry and I. And you connect these dots when you think and hear Black history. So when James was talking about that, I started immediately to think about Reverend Daughtry and Joe Lowry, because you start connecting dots and understand that all these things are connected. That's why I like to spend a lot of time talking to Attorney Hardy, where he talks about when Frederick Douglass and all of them were doing things. Come a long way. I also want to acknowledge, y'all know I got to hit Michael at least once a week. Want to acknowledge, certainly we're always happy when the cultural leadership program from St. Louis visits us. Stand up, all these young people from St. Louis. Give them a big hand. Give them a big hand. Every year, about 30 of them, thank you, come and visit the House of Justice and come on a Saturday morning, and they're here with us this morning, and you heard from Jeremy Pinson and Mary Blair, and we're happy to have them with us. Let me say, I want you that are in radio land, particularly in New York, and those that are around the country, and then, of course, Saturday morning in Detroit, Laurie is up here. Laurie, I'm going to start calling you Bi-City. You in New York and in Detroit. She's with our Detroit chapter, but she's been here with her brother. And she's been coming to the rallies here, so she's on automatic. Saturday morning, she get up wherever she is and goes to a NAN rally. And we happy, she really is a true activist. Let me say to you that are particularly in the New York area, I want you to take this down, you that write, or you that take your BlackBerry and punch in, depending on your age. Young folk don't have notepads, they have iPads. So whether you on the notepad or the iPad, I want you to get this down. Today at 1 o'clock, we're going to be joining the mayor, de Blasio, and Assemblyman Wright at the Harlem State Office building on the rent stabilization rally. Now this is very important. The legislature, I want y'all to get this now in the beauty part. The legislature for the state goes out June 15th. If they do not extend rent stabilization, it opens up for them to raise rent on people whose incomes have not been raised. That's right. Many of them seniors, but many of them work every day and will be forced to market rate rents when there is no increase in their income. So this is a civil rights issue. I want y'all to hear me. Many of us get caught up in nonsense and noise rather than what really matters. Well, I ain't into the rent stabilization thing, I'm in the grassroots thing. Ain't nothing more grassroots than getting evicted. Ain't nothing more grassroots than the marshal putting a notice on your door. That's about as roots as you gonna get. Cause you be sleeping with the grass in 72 hours if you don't get the rent up. That's how grassroots that is. We must have the extension on rent stabilization. So 1 o'clock, we're going to Harlem State Office building and rally with Mayor de Blasio and Assemblyman Wright. Then at 4 o'clock, our youth huddle and our young people are going to the streets to start Occupy the Corner all over the city. That's right. And Sister Aisha Sekou has given us today. Now let me give this right. 4 o'clock in Harlem, they will be at the Hamilton houses, 141st and 7th. Same time, they will be at the Grant houses, 125th and Amsterdam. Same time, 119th Street and 7th Avenue. Same time, Fulton Street and Marcus Garvey Boulevard in Brooklyn. Same time, they will be at Jamaica Avenue and Parsons Boulevard in Queens. Same time, they will be at Suffern Boulevard with Erica Ford in Queens, Suffern and Archer. Same time, there'll be a Jersey Street and Benziger with Cynthia Davis at our chapter in Staten Island. And the same time, they will be with the Reverend Bishop Salam Ishmael at National United Youth Council in Elizabeth, Jersey City, New Jersey. That's all over the city. Now, about 2 years ago, young 4-year-old boy was killed in crossfire. Lloyd Morgan. His mother asked me to preach his funeral.
Come on now.
I preached many funerals in my life. But when I walked in that church that night, Mount Nebo Baptist Church, Reverend Green, and saw that little casket, it got to me more than anything that I had ever funeralized. And it was there in the sermon that I said, it was in the height of the Occupy Wall Street movement, we need to occupy these corners.
That's right.
And that's where it stopped. Everybody on staff was like, what is he talking about, how we gonna do that? I didn't know what I was talking about, but we did it. And we started going on the corners where there'd been a lot of gun fighting and mishaps with people being killed. And we stand on the corner on Friday and Saturday, Sunday nights from midnight to 2 in the morning. I went out myself many of the weeks. And we did it all over the city, every borough. Said we're gonna occupy the corner. What does that do? One, it says to those that are out there shooting that we're not giving the streets to you.
That's right.
And two, it emboldens and gives some support to those in the neighborhood that are living under siege.
That's right.
We had a lot of people, young people, come out and say that we're so glad that y'all are here because we are frightened. And now your presence gives some stability. And it emboldens them to stand up to the element. Most of our young people are not in a gang.
That's right.
Most of our young people are not into behavior that is with gunplay. But we give the streets to the element that is. And many of them need somebody stable to talk to.
Tell it, Rev. That's
A
right.
lot of them run around have just made mistakes in judgment,
That's right.
and you can talk to them. You can't talk to folk that you're not available for a conversation. Some of y'all scared to talk to your own children. Throw them in the world and scare them. So this afternoon, I thank God for Aisha, and I thank God for Huddle, and Ashley, Dominique, and them, that they are going to the corner. Now, let me say this. Involved in all of that is this backdrop of media madness. The media is trying to play gun shots, gun killing, shootings are going up. Therefore, stop and frisk should be brought back. Let me walk through this slow.
Take your time.
Several years ago, a movement was started against stop and frisk and against other issues that grew out of an already existing movement around racial profiling. Am I right? People that were involved in that movement were the people that were involved in stop and frisk. Labor, SEIU 1199, 37 BJ, all of them, along with Nash Action Network, Red Dodge, all of us. When racial profiling became a national issue, is in the early 90s when we led a case of the New Jersey Four that happened at the time that ACLU and them had established and documented that there was profiling going on the New Jersey Turnpike. Y'all still with me? Because a lot of y'all just be reading stuff and don't understand the context. We knowing the data to be true. Now mind you, these were middle class, bourgeois blacks being stopped on Jersey Turnpike. Athletes, businessmen that lived in New Jersey, the Gold Coast in New Jersey. These were not lumpen proletariat, grassroots people. They did not have a house in the suburbs. These were blacks that had late model cars that the police was pulling over, asking them, what are you doing out here and how do you afford that Mercedes? That's how the issue started. Johnny Cochran, at our request, became the attorney for the New Jersey Four. The New Jersey Four was 4 young men on their way to North Carolina for a basketball tryout. Lived in Harlem. They were on their way. Police stopped them. Said they had gun in the car. Stop prison now. Gun in the car. Got in the altercation, shot those young men. Thank God that survived and lost their basketball careers. I was coming in one Saturday morning. We've been doing this every Saturday morning, 24 years, to the House of Justice on Madison Avenue. Man was standing at the door the next morning. This happened one day next morning. And said, I need to see Reverend Sharpton. They told him, Reverend Sharpton's got to go on the broadcast. What's the problem? He said, I need to see him. Police shot my son. The state trooper shot my son. They said, we'll have somebody talk to you. No, I want to see him. I came out of my office, walking to the stage. And the man said, Reverend, I need to see you. They shot my son. I said, brother, that's what we got stabbed for. And he broke down, started crying. And when I saw this grown man start crying, I said, well, if you wait, I'll see you after the broadcast. That's how we got in New Jersey 4. That's right. Reached out to Johnny Cochran. Johnny became the lawyer, and the rest became history. One of the biggest settlements ever was. And we made racial profiling law in New Jersey. We don't just march now. We made law. It became a law in New Jersey based on that movement. Herb Dodge, Michael Hardy, Nash Action Network. We went out and closed down Atlantic City on Labor Day. Went to jail, closing it down. Did we not, Salam? Went down and closed the New Jersey Turnpike. In the early 90s. Out of that movement, we started dealing with stop and frisk in New York, saying that they were stopping disproportionately blacks and Latinos, same as they had done in New Jersey. Now, that caught fire again with data. A lot of the people in the civil rights legal community, allies of Michael Hardy, documented and went to court. We went to the streets, just like we did in New Jersey, culminated in the march on Father's Day 2 years ago. Silent march where tens of thousands of us marched down Fifth Avenue to Michael Bloomberg's house. Many of y'all were there. Y'all with me? Yes. And we got the momentum at that march around stop and frisk. A federal judge, get this in the barbershop. A federal judge ruled that stop and frisk was unconstitutional. They appealed it, the Bloomberg administration, when the decision went down. Out of that movement came the candidacy of Bill de Blasio. The reason that some of us supported de Blasio and not other candidates, including a credible black candidate, Bill Thompson, was because our cause always dictates our candidate. don't endorse candidates, I endorse causes, and the candidate comes out of the cause. When the other candidates equivocated on the civil rights issue of that time, and de Blasio stood up and marched with us and kept going, that is when he earned a lot of support. All this back and forth, getting folks out of context. That's why when they call me, well, certain people don't like de Blasio, certain people never did like him. They wasn't with him in the beginning, which is their right, but let's not rewrite history.
Go ahead.
We started the Fifth Avenue March from Reverend Walden's church, 1 Corinthians. March, I know who was with us. I'm not against those that are not calling nobody no name, they're not calling me name. But I'm saying let's tell the history. When the newspapers now say that we ought to go back to stop and frisk, they are saying we ought to disobey a federal ruling that it is unconstitutional. They're saying to take away the constitutional rights of people. First thing. Second thing, it is not even a crime-fighting mechanism because the overwhelming majority of people they stopped, they did not find a gun. Part of the lawsuit was even in white areas. The majority of people they stopped were black. What they talk about, well, you know, the reason blacks get stopped is this high crime in black community. Well, how do you explain the majority of people you stopped in the Upper East Side, where the rich and the white dominate? The majority of people you stopped were black. That's profiling.
That's right.
And how do you explain in some areas over 80%, even some over 90%, you didn't find a gun? So if you're not finding a gun in 8 to 9 out of 10 folk, how does going back to that stop the guns? When that ain't where the guns are. Have y'all ever heard about going after the gun manufacturers? Have y'all ever heard about going after the gun suppliers? When the last time you seen major bust on people selling a lot of guns? That's how you stop this. The gang units that are dealing with the gang wars ought to be working with people like Aisha Sokoa and community policing. Have you ever heard of that? To just try to make politics out of something that won't solve the problem and that is unconstitutional is playing with the safety of the city of New York. I'm reading this stuff. I was in Washington, D.C. yesterday. I'm reading this stuff in the newspaper. One poor whites mad at de Blasio because of stop and frisk. How are you mad at a mayor for following a federal judge's ruling on the Constitution? So are you saying that de Blasio ought to go against the Constitution? Hello? Well, you got one little guy running around saying de Blasio's wrong and got to cast it, Well, you got two guys just went by the House of Justice with a sign saying pizza, $5. It ain't hard to get a couple people hold a sign. The issue is the constitutional right of people that were stopped 4 and 5 times that had done nothing wrong just because of the color of the skin. That is what caused the problem and the tension. Now, I don't agree with everything the mayor do, but on that, not only is he right, he comes out of that movement that won. Let me tell you something. if you are going to get involved in politics, elections have consequences.
Go ahead.
I'll say that again. Elections have consequences. If you support one vision and others support another vision, and our vision won, how do you say, why haven't we adopted your vision? We ran against your vision and won. You lost. Folk rejected you. For 20 years, we had Giuliani and Bloomberg. 2 decades. They had their own circle of policing, their own circle of black leaders, their own circle of people. I never asked why I wasn't part of Bloomberg or Giuliani's preacher list, because that was not my vision. I opposed them and I lost. Am I right, Reverend Daughtry? If we fight it and win, how you ask why you not sitting up at the victory party when you didn't win, you lost?
That's right, Reverend. Oh, that's right. I agree.
Our lead beat Liston. Liston didn't put the belt on, he lost. You get knocked out and want to know why you ain't got the championship belt on. Maybe your head is still fuzzy.
That's right. Oh, that's right.
So I want us to be real clear when we hear this stuff. That, well, you know, y'all got to deal with the polls, and because you're misinforming people about the shootings and the cause and how we react. Now, all of those that had all of this stuff about the shootings and de Blasio and stop and frisk and shopping, again, 4 o'clock today,
That's right.
meet them to help occupy.
Come on now.
If you can hold press conferences against the mayor and can't get in the streets and really deal with this, then we know that you have a political opinion and not dealing with this issue. Now, at the same time, they're occupying all these corners, and I announced them. Will be in Hartford, Connecticut. I'm leaving the rent stabilization rally, headed to Hartford to join the ministers, the concerned pastors of Greater Hartford. There's been an array of shootings up there. At 3 o'clock, we're marching from Mount Moriah Baptist Church, 222 Barber Street, to Shiloh Baptist Church, 350 Albany Avenue, for a 4 o'clock rally. So while Huddle and Aisha and others and Salam are occupying the corners in New York, I'll be in Hartford dealing with the same issue. Now, you will not see a lot of press around that. But because they press students don't cover us fighting crime. They want to lie and tell folk we don't fight crime. When we got involved in her son's case, Eric Arnold, we were in the middle of our anti-violence campaign then.
That's right.
And never stopped. Because it is not either or to us.
That's right.
It's both and.
That's right.
And we're going to continue to do that. Now, I want everybody to support Huddle and support the young folk in that. As we also continue to fight around these police brutality issues. This week, our Los Angeles chapter was always a part of the case of Alicia Thomas. This is a young woman that was assaulted by a policewoman in Los Angeles. She was indicted, she was tried, and yesterday she was found guilty. Give a hand to Reverend Tulis and Najee Ali and Earl Afar Hutchinson, who stood by that family on that case. Also, I want to report that the Tamir Rice case, that I was there Friday before last, Reverend Jawanza Carvin, that the sheriff has finished his investigation, handed it to the prosecutor. So we're going to be part of the continued vigilance and monitoring of that case. Next month will be a year since the choking death by New York City police of Eric Garner. We have not yet heard from the Justice Department on civil rights charges. The local prosecutor in Staten Island ruled that there was no indictment and went on and ran and won for Congress. That weekend, we're going back to Staten Island in big numbers. And I want to put out there now that Saturday we're going to have a Lest We Forget march and rally. That's the name of it, Lest We Forget. They thought a year later we would forget. Lest we forget Eric. We will forget Sean Bell. We will forget all of the cases before and Michael Brown and them after. I want all of you in Radio Land to prepare now to be with us in Staten Island, second Saturday in July. Now, even just while we come back pro-con before that, we're going to have the Lest We Forget march and rally. Now, y'all that are so mad y'all got to fight the police, I tell you now, do that. If you're going to do that, do not do that at our march. We are not there to tear this family down. We're there a year later to hold them up, saying no matter how long it takes, we will not forget and we will stand for justice for the Garner family. I've already met with some of our allies. Many of you remember last year we brought 12 to 15,000 people out there. And we're organizing to do the same. I've already met with some of the labor leaders. And we're getting ready to unravel it. There'll be other events, but the main march and rally will be that Saturday after our rally. We're just going to start out there at 1 o'clock. We'll leave here. We're going to have buses from all over the city. Our office in Staten Island that we opened a few weeks ago is organizing now. Lest we forget, if you want to be an organizer on your block, in your church, in your barbershop, in wherever you socialize, call us at 1-877-626-4651, 1-877-626-4651, and start organizing now. Stephen Marshall and Kirsten Ford and others are starting the organizing meetings this week. I want to say two other things and I'll let you go. One, I'm glad to see the continued fight around minimum wage when we see Los Angeles now voted for $15 an hour. We see the fight of increasing wages. Yesterday it was reported 280,000 new jobs in the private sector the Obama administration was able to get in the month of May. It would be more than that if we could increase public sector jobs. I did this on my show last night. Most minorities work in the public sector. Work for cities, state, federal government, fire, police, all that's public. They've cut the budgets in the public sector, which is why even though unemployment is barely 5%, we are over 10% because the increases in the private sector where blacks and Latinos are not getting the jobs. Now, we're doing better than we was under Bush because Obama saved the economy. What all they talking about, Barack Obama saved the economy. When he became president, we were down 2 million jobs. He has created millions of new jobs. and has turned the economy around. Let me tell you what is important to me about where we are. Under Reagan, 1980, all the way to Clinton, 1992, 12 years later, the country turned from the Great Society legislation of Lyndon Johnson, civil rights era of Johnson, Adam Clayton Powell, Martin Luther King, and went to a trickle-down economic theory and a war on civil rights, civil liberties. 12 straight years. Bill Clinton ran, want y'all get this now. He ran saying, well, I'm not going to be conservative, but I'm not a liberal. And I'm not going to go all the way back Great Society. They formed what was called the Democratic Leadership Council to offset the move in the Democratic Party to continue progressive legislation that was symbolized by the Rainbow Coalition and Reverend Jackson. I was head of ministers division. DLC, Democratic Leadership Council, headed by Bill Clinton and Al Gore, was to counterbalance Rainbow Coalition, Jesse Jackson, and the Progressives. They won. 8 years you had what they call triangulation, where they were, we won't end affirmative action, but we're meant it, which means we ain't all the way over there either. And they began this making moderate the Democratic Party. So you add 8 years to the 12 of going in the direction of the right. Clinton just went slower, whereas Reagan and Bush Sr. were speeding. Then Gore loses to Bush Jr. You go 8 more years of speeding to the right. Y'all still with me now? So you got 12 and 8, which is 20. Now you add another 8, 28 years that you were going in trickle-down economics, anti-affirmative action, anti-social programs, anti-holding police accountable, anti the civil rights movement. 28 straight years. Same way in this city. You had 20 straight years of Giuliani Bloomberg. The reason I support President Obama and de Blasio as mayor in general is they turned that ship around that was speeding in that direction and brought it back toward rights of citizens, social programs, investing in young people, protecting people's civil rights. This was against the flow of decades from Reagan, Bush, all the way down to Giuliani, Bloomberg. Now, in any boat ride, you're going to hit waves that's going to shake us up. But as long as the ship is moving in the right direction, I say let's navigate the waves, but don't let them turn the ship back against where we're going. Some folk are more caught up in where their room is on the ship than which way the ship is headed. I should have a bigger cabin. How come Chopped in the captain's cabin and I'm downstairs? First, let's make sure they don't turn the ship around. You want a captain's cabin? Come on. Later, I'll sleep on the floor. Don't let them turn this ship around. We can argue about the details, but don't miss the sea changing. Now, a lot of y'all miss it because y'all wasn't in it. But I was there when they shut down voting rights with Section 4. I was sitting in the Supreme Court, and they were on the bench appointed by Reagan and Bush. I was there when we took Amadou Diallo's body
That's right.
from the House of Justice on Madison and 125th and flew to Guinea and buried him out there with his ancestors. And we couldn't get the Clinton administration to call his name.
Well,
I was there.
Come on, Reverend.
Sean Bell shot at 50 times. And George Bush never called his name. So it was with that in mind that I stood knowing that the sea had changed when Barack Obama said I could have been Trayvon Martin. You ain't never heard George Bush say, I could have been Sean Bell. You didn't hear Bill Clinton say, I could have been Amadou Diallo. But for a president of the United States to stand in the Rose Garden on national television and say, I can't tell the judge what to do, but Trayvon could have been my son. And all you can do is call him a name. Yeah, I'm standing with him because I know what the sea change means. We fought not only bad laws, we fought the marginalizing of our issues. They act like we were crazy. I mean, with some young activists the other night about the Lest We Forget March. I told them some of us believed this before it was on video. Some of y'all, it took a video for y'all to believe what they were doing. I believed Abner Louima and wasn't no video. I believed Claude Reese wasn't no video because I knew what was happening. Don't miss the moment. The big moment, the ones that are pumping you up are the ones that want to take this ship and turn it back the other way. Don't let them use you against your own interests. Yes, hold Obama accountable. Yes, hold de Blasio accountable. But don't give the oars of the ship to your enemy because you're mad about what cabin you're sleeping in. It's Black Music History Month. One of the legacies of Black music history is that the distincting power of Black music is we had to make music despite our pain. Difference between artists of one community and artists in our community is that we had to negotiate our pain and find rhythm and joy while we were hurting. You can't lead the day if you can't get your personal pain. Elvis Presley imitated Chuck Berry and Jackie Wilson and James Brown. But they say there was something missing. What was missing wasn't just the melanin in him, is that Elvis didn't learn a beat sitting in the back of the bus. Elvis didn't learn in Memphis how it felt to be thirsty and couldn't drink out the water fountain. Elvis never went to a motel and they say you ain't allowed to stay here. Chuck Berry, James Brown lived through that and learned how to sing and dance over that. James Brown told me how they used to play gigs and they would tell them you got to get dressed in the bus because you're allowed on the stage, but we don't allow blacks to use the dressing room. And I had to get dressed, Reverend, in the dressing room of the bus, run through the cold and the rain, get on the stage and sing I Feel Good. But I sang anyhow until I got big enough till I could make a record saying, say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud. If you keep on singing and don't succumb to your pain, you'll get the world's attention and you can change the song and uplift your people. Don't let them take your song. So I read the book of Psalms where they took our people captive and they mocked them. And they said, Bishop Daughtry, sing us one of them songs of Zion. Mock them. Entertain us. Get up there and do one of them shuffles. One of them buck dances. Sing us one of them, what y'all call them, songs of Zion. One of them that got mad said, how can we sing the Lord's song in a strange language? Well, I tell you how we can sing it. If you know the Lord, you can sing the Lord's song anyway. Because ain't no land strange for long if the Lord is on your side. Because the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof and all that dwell within. And if you sing anyhow, there's something that happens to your consciousness where your spirit overtakes your body. And even though we're shackled and chained, our mind is free. That's where gospel music came from. Even with the being maids, looking only at your face in dirty dishwater, raising other people's children when yours was home alone. That'll make you sit down and sing, Mary, don't you weep, don't you moan. Pharaoh's army got drowned. They wasn't talking history. They were looking at Pharaoh in the living room. Some of those songs were codes. That's why I could sing the Lord's song. And I want you to understand that we are in a place in history that we can move forward. We've never had a president of the United States, an attorney general, and a mayor that comes out of this kind of movement. If we can't make progress now, if we get caught up in pettiness now and not turn around housing and poverty and jobs and policing, with all of this lined up our way, then God has rewarded us for no reason, because we too caught up in our egos rather than his agenda. That's why it's in the book, which Mama T was here this morning to holler. It's in the book that when they were heading into the promised land, they said, get behind the Levites and the book and follow them. Follow the elders that led us out of bondage. Because you're about to go where we've never been before. That's in the book. Where? What do you mean we're going where we've never been before? You're on your way to a land that was promised, but you've never been there. And it wasn't promised to you, it was promised to your forefathers who fought for this day. A lot of y'all lost because y'all were drunk and intoxicated and serving graven images and false cows and had their bling bling in the earrings and got detoured for 40 years. But my mercy extended to you anyhow. Follow the elders that I promised. They're going to bring you to a land you've never been before. But if you follow the ark, I promised your mama and your daddy that I would deliver you. I don't care how many names you call me. I'm going to follow the ark because God has promised us. And he delivered for us. Reagan and Bush and that crowd is gone. We got a new crowd. We got to work while it's day. Because this is our time. This is our day. We beat the doubters. We beat the skeptics. We beat the oppressors. This victory will not be taken from us. Sharpton, you too close to the president. I was close when he wasn't president. Comes out of a movement against the right. Rev, don't sell out. Sell out. Sell out to who, for what? If we were all partners in the struggle, there ain't no sell out. That's shared vision. But you're so used to the coined phrases because somebody done gave you a loser complex that you don't think we could win. You thought that Bloomberg was too rich and Giuliani was too strong. So the fact that we could win and turn it around, there got to be a deal. What no deal? The deal was that right will overpower wrong. The deal is that if you hold out, if you keep on going, that sooner or later God will make a way for his children. The deal was the first will be last, and the last will be first. And the lion and the lamb will lay down together. The deal was if my people called by my name would humble themselves and pray and turn from their wicked ways, then, right then, they will hear from heaven. I will heal the land. I will heal the land. I will heal the land. Get out of the way. I don't care how much you holler, get out the way. I don't care how loud you scream. We gonna heal the land. We gonna heal the land. We gonna heal the land. Everybody sing. Everybody sing. Everybody singing. Singing like you mean it. Singing like you mean it. Singing like you mean it. We want justice. Got to have justice. We want justice. Everybody sing. Everybody sing. Everybody singing. Yeah. One more time, yo. One more time, yo. One more time, yo. I'm gonna open the doors of the movement. There may be someone today hears us on the radio, watches us in news briefs, but never became an active part of the movement. You can come down either aisle and come straight up to me, and I'll sign you up right now to be a member of the National Action Network. If you're here and never joined, you don't even have to worry if you don't have membership dues today. Just come on and let me sign you up right now to become a member of this family. Everybody's singing. Everybody's singing. Everybody's singing. Yeah, sing it like you mean it. Sing it for justice. Sing it for freedom. Everybody's singing. Everybody's singing. Everybody's singing. Let us raise our offering. We're moving quickly so we can get to the rent stabilization rally and the young folk get to the huddle. I got to get to Hartford. Moving around a lot today, but that's what we do. I want everybody to give to the best of their ability. I need about eight people that give $100 or more. Come quickly. About 8 people, really quickly. Jamila Ali, longtime member and supporter, $100. Attorney Schmelkin, $100. Brother Winston Gilchrist, Minister Winston Gilchrist, $100. All right. Thank you. All right, wait, one minute, Nick. 1 minute.